Hi, this is Tavi Greiner, Astronomy.fm's Vice President of Communications. If you enjoy our programming, please let us know with a donation to astronomy.fm/donate. We really do rely on your support, and it's true, every little bit counts.
AFM.
Program complete. Enter when ready.
The curtain of night is drawn back. The telescopes are trained. The domes are open. The audience is set. Now, step into the event horizon.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Event Horizon here on Astronomy.fm radio. That means it is another Friday night.
And what do we do on Friday nights? We take over the world.
That's right. My name is Marty Coons with my co-host.
My name is Nicky Vetz, 2 Echo 0 Lima Uniform November for now, and I'm being told by StarStorm that I shouldn't say the world, I should say the universe.
There you go. Couple seconds delay. Sorry, everybody, a little tech error. But we're live right now. Of course, we want to welcome everybody into our Astronomy.fm chat room. Got you and me. We've got Glenn, StarStorm, Black Projects, Red Shirt 3, Evil Spock, Astro 99, and Optronics. Hopefully more of you listening in right now to our live portion will join us in chat.
No,
Come on over. It's right at the homepage, by the way, Astronomy.fm.
I'm going to shoot Space Aliens Red Shirt 3. I will borrow Federation issue ship-mounted phasers. If I'm going to do damage, I'm going to do it in a grand way. Give them a couple of photon torpedoes as well to chew on.
Oh, ship-mounted.
Ship-mounted.
Right, wasn't quite clear on that one. Mm-hmm.
Marty, your mind is in the gutter.
It is.
No, but seriously, as I was saying at the okay, I'm being reminded here that I could do some damage with the Infinity Stones to any alien invaders too. Starstorm must always make sure that I do an Avengers reference. No, seriously, go if you missed the show or you want to get the links again and listen to us again, you can go to the AFM Facebook page and we'll post a link to the show on there. I will post a link on my Facebook page. I will post it in most of the groups I'm a member, Central New York Observers. I will post it in Northolt. I will post it in Swan Hill, Astronomy, the New Zealand astronomer site. I'll post it there. I will actually tell you what. I will actually make it a public post on Facebook. How's about that?
There you go.
But until we get the website back, my YouTube page is where you're going to have to get the show from if you want to listen to it again.
Okie dokie. Yeah, we'll get it. We're still working on it. Stuff happens. Technology happens, and lack of technology happens.
I've got a Buzz. I got a Buzz Lightyear. I don't know.
I heard that little buzz. I don't know where it's coming from.
I don't know either.
It's not enough.
Well,
it's a bee, maybe.
Yeah, I was being told there's a space bee. Well, I thought the space bee as well as a little spacecraft at the end that Starfleet has at Space Dock, and then the Enterprise carries a couple of. So
better than those little critters that run around the floor in was it Ice Pirates?
Oh yeah, I remember that. Oh, that's going back, Marty. That is going back. Right.
Yeah, that's not even that far back compared to Star Trek.
It's getting there. It's what, the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, something like that.
No, hang on. I will move my mic. Is that any better? Is this any better, or is that any better?
Seems the same to me.
Okay, I don't know what it is then. Oh boy, my desk fan is swinging.
Hello.
Hello.
Gotcha. Okay.
Starstorm thinks it's her fan, so she's going to try turning her fan off, which is a way. Is that any better?
Sounds good.
I'm gone?
Yeah, no, you were gone, but you're back. So
okay,
you're good.
In that case, I blame Spectrum Charter.
There you go.
It's their fault. They did it.
All right, so we're re-uplink to the satellite, and we'll go direct then. Here we go.
Yeah. So
all right.
I've conned my way on board one of the U.S. Navy's highly classified, top secret, and most difficult satellites to use.
There you go. Let's see. What's this? Richard, you found out you're located in the UK on SOAS Pirate Radio.
Solent's Pirate Radio. Oh, saying that, Marty.
What is
guess
it?
Guess what they're flying in the old armory here in Cohoes, New York.
Ah.
Your favourite flag?
My favorite flag?
Favourite flag?
Jolly Roger?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, they were Black Project put in a link to Ice Pirates.
Yeah, it was good, Hokum. It's just as much fun as scientifically incorrect as Armageddon was, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
What was that other one where they finally got to go to the moon after blowing something else up? I forget which one it was.
Mm-hmm.
And how is your Schwartz Black Project? As you brought up Spaceballs, may the Schwartz be with you. No, but seriously, it's been a good week. I got a very nice little birthday present for myself.
Okay.
Okay.
What did you get?
I got a book.
You got a book? What book did you
bought
get?
myself a book. Yes, it is a very old book. It is from 1955. It is written by H.P. Wilkins and Patrick Moore long before he had his Sir. There we go. There's a link into that should bring up a picture of the cover, and there are a few photographs in it, but most of the actual sketches and maps are totally hand drawn. The map the book is based on is actually completely hand drawn. It's the famous H.P. Wilkins map of the moon.
Oh.
Apollo 18, yes. Cool. I remember the film. X-rated too, as I remember. Well, they call it restricted now, don't they? They don't have
keep changing it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, anyway. Oh, yeah, I want to correct the comment I was reading in our chat here. There was a little typo there. So, all right. Black Projects found out you're located in the UK on Space Pirate Radio. Okay, that's it. That's what we're supposed to.
What city are you in? No, not what city. What city?
What city? Black Projects. I can't remember where Black Projects is at.
I know where he is.
Oh.
I'll leave him to make the comment. He can do it in the privacy of the chat room.
You're going to head back that way, aren't you? Where are you heading back to?
I'm heading back to wonderfully rural Bedfordshire for 2 weeks in October time.
Oh, nice. Mm-hmm.
Yes, it will be nice. Dark rural skies. I am taking my SQM meter with me. I am very curious to see what results I get. I've done it here, and basically the display goes ha ha ha. You can see nothing. Yes, it is. It's not just Patrick's drawing; it's H.P. Wilkins' drawings as well. They actually collaborated together on the book. I was offered a copy at $500 plus. Okay, it had been autographed. I'm not that insane. I've already got some stuff autographed by Patrick.
So where did you pick this book up at, by the way? Was it you said?
On eBay, actually.
Okay.
I've been watching it for a while. Black Projects and I were actually discussing it a while back, and I put it on my watch list. So I get the feeling whoever was bidding on it didn't go through with the sale, and it was put back up today, and I grabbed it. So it is it's a little birthday present to myself.
Oh, very nice. Yes, I've always wanted. What was it? Was it by actual book by Lowell on Mars? One of those books. There are a few of them around.
Yes, there are.
They get for sale every once in a while. They used to be more affordable, but I couldn't afford them when they were more affordable. I'm sure I wonder if they're more expensive, that much more now or less. I'll have to look them up.
Well, as I say, yes, Optronics is actually a horror film. Apollo 18. It's a science fiction horror film. It's got aliens on the moon and astronauts on suicide missions, and I haven't bothered to watch it yet. It's not real Apollo.
By the way, those of you just listening in, wondering who the other person we're talking to is, people in their chat room. So, yes, we do that. If you come on in and join us in our chat room, we can have a little conversation back and forth that way, too. Yeah, you can ask us questions, astronomy stuff if you want to. Feel free to join our chat room at the homepage, astronomy.fm. So some space news. Little leak in at the ISS. Not directly in the ISS, but in the Russian, what would you call it?
Russian module.
Russian module, yes. Now, is it the module or what? I don't think it was like their module. I think it was the orbiter. You know what I'm saying?
What, the Soyuz.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Let me try to go back and find that article we had on this.
Okay, I've got. Here we go.
Can you find it? Was it?
Yeah, let me just try and pull up.
Leak in Soyuz. Yep. Space station status. Crew repair small leak in Russian Soyuz.
I don't remember us ever really having that problem with the Apollo modules. Well, as I say, the thing is,
I'll put a link in our chat room.
Yeah, I'll put a link to the chat room. There we go.
I got one.
I got one too. I'm already in there.
Okay.
I watched a trailer, and it's supposed to be. It comes across as a horror film to me. And if I want to watch a horror film, I want to watch something that's actually going to entertain me, and not just make me want to throw up.
Are we talking about a movie or a leak in the Russian Soyuz?
I'm commenting on the chat room's comments about Apollo 18.
Ah, got it.
No, but seriously, yeah, you can do that. You're going to have a few medical problems afterward. It's not like it's a Dutch dike where you can probably get away with it for a few hours.
You should read the question for people that don't know what's going on.
Okay. Red Shirt 3 says he heard somebody temporarily plug the leak with a finger. Doing that without the glove on.
No, that's not that bad. Pressure's not that real high, really.
Yeah, but I'm more thinking of the exposure to the vacuum.
The vacuum is not compounded. It's actually not vacuum. It's pressure behind it. So air pressure here on the Earth about 14 pounds per cubic inch on the around the surface. Space station is like about half that, 7, something like that. For instance, the spacesuits, when they do EVAs and on the moon, they're only about 3 pounds of pressure. So the pressure is not that high, and that's what's pushing on the hole. It's not a vacuum thing. So,
well, I'm more thinking about the damage to the fingers, the skin, because apparently a famous Canadian astronaut posted a photo of the hole. So I'm wondering if we were meaning Mr. Hatfield or not.
Interesting, but I don't think a small hole would even do that much damage to a finger. I think your skin would have enough resilience in it to handle the slight amount of pressure. Basically, it's not the vacuum; it's how much the air pressure is pushing stuff from your finger out into space. And if the pressure is not that high, you don't have that issue. Now, if you're inside of a tank and it was pressurized to 100 pounds per square inch and it had a leak, then you put your finger up against it. Yeah, that's that atmosphere at 100 pounds per square inch trying to push your finger through the hole. That would be a lot more, or even higher and higher and higher.
Black Projects has posted a picture of the hole in question.
Okay, yeah, it says it was about 2 millimeters.
Yes, but that looks like a micrometeorite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So as far as been reading, it's only on one hole, so must have been enough to puncture one side and not the other. They used epoxy on a gauze, plug it, hardened up, and that should do it. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, about a hole in the capsule. I wonder if it was like in a clean piece of metal. You know what I'm saying? Or if you have, if you have a multi layers where if you got, the metal hull and then insulation and then maybe cloth interior, stuff like that, that could be a bit more difficult to patch as opposed to a hole in like a metal shell.
The rocks up front, it says rocks that turned into spiders. I thought that was a Doctor Who story set on the moon. Where the moon is actually a giant egg.
Well, anyways, what hit them? Probably, like really small piece of dust. Remember that stuff's traveling Well, could be at least if it was, if basically the station ran into it, that would be a hit at about 17,000 miles an hour. If something was orbiting in the opposite direction from the space station, you combine the two speeds together, so that would make it a hit at about 35,000 miles an hour. If it was something coming from out in space, like a micrometeorite, some of them travel at 60,000 miles per hour, which you could, again, do a head-on collision with our own 17,000. That'd be about 75,000 miles an hour, which is really fast, even for something the size of a grain of sand or a little grain of salt. Would be
a micrometeorite, basically.
Yeah. Yep. Really, something really small. Doesn't take very much traveling at that high speed to do a puncture. And that's the first puncture they've had in, what'd you say, like 20 years or with no puncture?
Something like that, yeah. It's just one of those quirky things. It's on the cards, it's going to happen. You can go for a long period of time, nothing happens, and bam, it happens. I think I've seen a picture of one of the windshields in the space shuttle where something hit it really small and put a little dent in the glass, a little crack in it. Yeah. So the thing is, though, the windscreens on the space shuttle are kind of like the ones some people still have on their cars. They're laminated. So you've got two pieces of glass with a piece of plastic sandwiched in the middle, and it's pressed together so hard that you can't tell there's a piece of plastic there until you actually take a hammer to it. Because I
wonder why something doesn't go through.
Well, yeah, that was the whole thing about the old style laminated windscreens. The idea was you might get a hole in the outer windscreen, but unlike the old style toughened glass, it wasn't going to shatter all over you and cut you to ribbons like they used to back in the 50s and 60s. So yeah.
Well, we can get into windscreens, windshield technology and stuff I've been hearing too. But let's stick with astronomy stuff.
Well, they use the same type. They basically use the same type of technology they use on aircraft for windows. So obviously, it's not your run-of-the-mill car grade laminated windscreen. This is something that you would probably find on an aircraft, on a 747 or and some of the other Airbus products.
Do you know the inside window has a hole in it?
Yeah.
An airplane is.
Yes, I know. I always go for the window seats. Why? Because maybe I should just have that one night I get really, really lucky and I get an aurora, particularly if I fly via Iceland.
That's nice.
That was the whole idea. The last time I flew via Iceland and stopped over it in Keflavik, I remember Keflavik as being a U.S. Air Force base. Now the whole area is a civilian airport. It's the main airport for the whole of Iceland.
Helps to fly on the north side too.
Yeah. Most of my flights were over the pole anyway, because I was flying between London and SFO. And ironically, going over the pole is the quickest route to San Francisco, believe it or not.
I believe it. It is, yes.
But
just restricted during high solar activity, though.
Yes, yeah. And Black Projects has put some more links in. The Apollo heat shield, space shuttle window damage. So they will all be in the show notes, which will be on YouTube. I have to admit, I'm actually having a lot of fun now learning how to turning a radio show into a YouTube movie. And I'm getting it down to about 15, 20 minutes at a go. So basically my biggest thing is I have to think out how long does each frame last of the image for the event horizon. And that makes me think, Marty, we need to get some new images, because I've only got the one I nicked from, I believe it was the AFM, main AFM Facebook page for the show. So we need to come up with some new images I can just sprinkle through the show.
Don't forget to pan and zoom on any images too. That makes it a little bit more. Yeah, literally. What was it? Some of the old PBS specials, like of about the Civil War and stuff like that in the U.S. They just had single pictures, but what they would do to make it more interesting is they would take the camera and they would move it around the picture. So maybe zoom in on certain generals' faces and then zoom out to show the whole scene, or move across the picture to give it a little bit more of a motion picture feel to it, even if you only have one still image. So something to consider.
Yeah, let's say in that case, Marty, you and I will be doing a lot of editing together.
Well, yes.
But because the other thing in the news, of course, is New Horizons, and they have given their target. They're tired of calling it MU-69, so they have now nicknamed it Ultima Thule, which was Thule.
That was from Ghostbusters.
Oh, okay.
Did they say Thule or did they say something else? It was something like that.
No, something else.
I'll have to look all right, we'll get somebody in our chat room to look up. What was the name of the evil deity in the first Ghostbusters?
Those are the Gozerian. And in fact, it was Space 1999 that nicknamed the planet where a lost expedition from Earth ended up.
On Thule or Ultima Thule?
On Ultima Thule. They named him Ultima Thule.
There we go. Black Project has it in our chat room. It was Zool.
Are you
saying with an evil voice, Zool.
Smackdown. I remember the scene very well. Gozar the Gazarian is saying, "Are you a god?" I remember which one it says no. Then it says
die.
Then bam, they're not flying off their feet. That was the original Ghostbusters.
Sorry, we're digressing tonight. So New Horizons has actually imaged its next target.
Yeah.
It looks like a star among stars, a faint star among some brighter stars, which are really faint. So yeah, it's actually not much of an image. Let's see, how many? 48 different. To get this, they had to take 48 different exposures, each one about 30 seconds long, just to be able to pick up an image of it. So they've got it targeted. It was taken from about 4 billion miles away, something like that. Wait, Thule was 107 million miles.
Well,
and
you know
that's 4 billion miles from the Earth.
You know what they say?
What do they say?
Space is vast, and distances in the outer solar system are great. So, just the fact that they've actually been able to image this little KBO, is kind of a tribute to how well Alan Stern and his team designed not only the actual mission itself, but their equipment. If you think about it, just how fast is New Horizons? Well, at its launch on January the 19th, 2006, it was the fastest spacecraft ever to leave Earth. Since then, there are other spacecraft now determined to be faster. For instance, the Parker space probe, the solar probe, which is even faster. But when you think about it, New Horizons is still very fast. It's about 100 times faster than an earthly jet. There is actually an illustration just below on the page I popped in from 2015, and it gives you an idea of from a 747, an SR-71, and then New Horizons. So flying at 37,000 feet, this is what it would look like to look out of the window of a 737, an SR-71, and then to look from New Horizons. So that's from July 17th. It's in the link I put in the chat room. I'm going to see if I can get the link address and pop it into chat. Just 1 second.
I'm trying to remember how big the thing is in diameter. Not very big. It's about 20 miles, 50 miles in diameter, something like that.
Okay, so that's MU-69.
Yeah. I can't quite remember. Not real big, especially after flying by Pluto. It's close to 1,500 miles in diameter, something like that. But this one is quite a bit smaller and twice as far away as Pluto.
Okay, so its actual name is 486958 2014 MU69. Previously designated PT1 and 111-111-0113Y. Nicknamed Ultima Thule by New Horizons. It's a KBO. It's in the outermost regions of the solar system. Its orbital period is 297 years. Mean diameter is between 30 to 45 kilometers. They're hedging their bets on this. They're saying between 25 to 40 kilometers, perhaps 30 to 45 kilometers. Its observation arc is currently at 118 days to 851 days. So I'll put the link into that as well.
So it's small, it's cold, and it's out there. But we're heading there.
Oh, yes.
NASA's heading there. We'll get an image of it. We'll see what it looks like. Could be a little tricky, too, because twice as far as Pluto makes it 4 times dimmer than Pluto, even if it has the same brightness to its surface, if it's mostly icy like Pluto.
Okay, so there's the planetary.org's link on the take, and there's an artist impressions of it. There's an artist impression of New Horizons encountering 2014 MU69. I noticed that they stick with the MU69 designation, and they didn't use Ultima Thule.
Okay.
So what they're saying is there are also a couple of others quite close to New Horizons trajectory, some of them sufficiently close that LORRI may actually be able to resolve them objects larger than 1 pixel during the day or two after the MU69 flyby. Simon Porter was particularly pleased with the LORRI views of 2012 HE85, which has a strong enough signal to show a late light curve variations. It's actually the first light curve New Horizons has obtained on a Kuiper Belt object outside the Pluto system. It won't be the last, because they've obtained Earth-based observations of HE85 at near the same time as the higher phase LORRI views. So they're actually able to produce a shape model of HE85 from its brightness variations, which will be it's a first. It's the first for an object in the Kuiper Belt. The observations are producing significant improvement in the precision of the orbit determinations for other large Kuiper Belt objects, Quaora and 2002 MS4. So it's not just, we're just going to one object. We're actually doing ongoing science as we go near other objects, which is great, because this is where the phrase you're getting more bang for your buck on the science missions. Yes, a lot of the time the New Horizons is in hibernation. It does save the money for particularly the earthbound phase for the science, and there's a reception. So what is also happening? Well, the huge dish, there's going to be a broadcast signal that will be going off at 2014 MU69, and REX, the radio science instrument, which has the huge dishes, will attempt to observe the reflected signal. The next big maneuver is October the 3rd. Of the 75 kilograms of propellant they launched with, they've got 21 kilograms remaining. So another 12 or so will be spent completing the extended mission, perhaps leaving about 9 for a second mission extension. Apparently one of the coolest pieces of news, at least according to the guy who wrote the story, that came from the team meeting, is there's a new capability for LORRI, the highest resolution camera on the spacecraft. Since launch and throughout the Pluto encounter, LORRI's longest possible exposure time was 10 seconds. That's all they needed to spot Pluto's moons and search for rings in plenty of time to prepare for the flyby. But for the observations are much distant, darker and smaller, i.e. MU69, it will really benefit from longer exposures. So the team worked to increase the longest exposure time for LORRI. Now, there's a nice historical parallel here to the work the Voyager team did on that spacecraft stability to help increase exposure times between the Saturn and Uranus flybys. So that's just a nice piece of historical for you.
Mm-hmm. But one thing I would recommend, Nick, when referring to a space mission, I really wouldn't say more bang for your buck.
Well, that to be honest, that is what you hear when you hear the scientists telling Congress and the Senate just how good it is. And to be honest,
bang usually means something going wrong with a spacecraft.
Yeah, but in the scientific context, it means that they're getting more scientific information out of it than they would have expected. Now, of course, the greatest thing is this camera can now take exposure times of 30 seconds. You're going to say, well, my camera does that on Earth. But think about this. This is a camera they can't upgrade. Doing a software upgrade on an ongoing space mission, particularly that far out, is incredibly dicey. We all had our hearts in our mouths just before the Pluto flyby, because they had to do just that. They had to scramble, they had to upload, they had to hope that the reboot happened and that everything came back online, and that New Horizons said, "Hello Earth, I'm here, I'm ready." We were lucky. It did. Now, previously they were able to image at a visual magnitude of 20. They're now down to magnitude 21. Now, as most of us do, it's common to improve the observation quality. You take multiple photographs and stack in the images. Now, longer exposures mean you don't have to take so many photographs for a stack, and you can be a little bit more economical on the bandwidth. And that, of course, is the most stringent constraint on the mission. The further they get from Earth, the weaker the signal and the slower the downlink. Mm-hmm. Also, the Deep Space Network is going through some major maintenance work that limits the number of active stations at any one time. Right now, this mission is affected by the Canberra 70-meter dish being offline for maintenance through at least until February. Now, this maintenance period was specifically scheduled to take place after the end of the Cassini mission and before the New Horizons encounter science begins. So missions manager Alice Bowman reported that the number of science observations of distant Kuiper objects that they've been doing this autumn has been made, achieving sufficient downlink time and the occasional struggle. But they're in good shape with only 300 megabits of data remaining on the solid-state recorders. They can't relay data when the spacecraft is hibernating, so they need to downlink that after they wake up, and that is going to be just before the MU-69 flyby. So, to that end, New Horizons next wakes up on June the 4th, and it will remain awake through the MU-69 encounter, and at least for another year until 2020. So yeah, we are, for what we forked out for this mission, we are getting, financially speaking, a very, very good science return. Mm-hmm. I suppose you could say getting more data for your dollar, I suppose. Yeah, that's true. And the camera is named Ralph. All the names that for that were taken from the Honeymooners 1950s TV show. Not many people know that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not too many people know the Honeymooners either.
I can actually say hand on heart and on wood. Oh, put it on my head. I've actually seen an episode of the show over here.
Oh, great. Let's do a little station identification before we move on.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Event Horizon here on Astronomy.fm radio. It is another Friday evening, and this one happens to be August the 31st, 2018, about halfway through our program.
Marty's struggling.
I'll get my tongue twisted around. So coming up after the Event Horizon, by the way, we have a brand new First Light. So keep listening in. And, of course, right now we've got our chat room real active with quite a few people here. We got you and me, of course, in our chat room. Glenn, StarStorm, Black Project, Evil Spock, Optronics, Redshirt 3. To find the chat room, just go to the home page, astronomy.fm, and you'll see something to click on, and they'll get you to the login page. Just type in a name, forget the password, cancel that out, and then hit login, and you'll be here in our chat room. If you got questions for us, feel free to ask them. More than happy to answer your questions.
Well,
on air in our chat room.
Since we're talking about ancient space rocks, who remembers asteroid Itokawa?
Itokawa, I remember Itokawa.
Yeah. Now,
there was something about Itokawa recently.
Yes, there was. Now, what it is this is an American football stadium-sized asteroid.
Okay.
Now, it got a facelift recently, and it's likely been around since pretty much the birth of the solar system.
Mm-hmm.
The story I'm looking at is published on Wednesday the 29th of August of this year in Astronomy magazine. Hello, Dave. Hope you're listening to the show, mate. Okay, so Japan's asteroid-visiting Hayabusa spacecraft wasn't a total disaster. The mission, like some other missions, got off to a rocky start. Now, launched in 2003, the world's first sample return mission was quickly sidelined when it was struck by charged particles from a very powerful solar flare shortly after its launch. Now, despite this, Hayabusa did reach its target, the loosely bound asteroid Itokawa, in late 2005. It was equipped with a miniature lander meant to hop along the surface of the asteroid. Gee, when did we hear that? Oh, yes, Philae. In another faux pas, the lander was unceremoniously lost in space. I blame Dr. Zachary Smith for that one.
There you go.
You won't use this information on TV trivia. Lost in space is a good one. Okay, so on June the 13th of 2010, Hayabusa earned its nickname Peregrine Falcon by dive bombing through the Earth's atmosphere at about 7.5 miles a second, 12.2 kilometers. As expected, the vast majority of the spacecraft disintegrated. However, the heat-shielded sample return capsule survived the fall relatively unscathed. Now, I'm sure we all remember this when it hit the ground and there was fears it had been contaminated. Well, I say relatively unscathed. Researchers have had unparalleled access. I'm having the same problem tonight, Marty. To the surface of an asteroid for the very first time. So, okay, piecing together the past. Now, after a decade of closely examining the little pieces of dust returned by Hayabusa, a new study published in Scientific Reports claims to have finally pinned down the origins of this asteroid. Now, by studying
the origin, but the age.
That's what the study claims. They said they used the word origins.
Okay.
So, by studying the ancient dust grains, they've learned that the primeval pile of rubble was formed about 4.6 billion years ago. That's right around the time the solar system was born.
Mm-hmm.
However, unlike some asteroids, Itokawa apparently had an eventful life. According to the study, they reckon about 1.5 billion years ago, a run-in with another asteroid nearly obliterated it. But the remains eventually recongealed into the more familiar shape we know today. Was more important, Itokawa spent most of its life, death, and rebirth. This sounds like Star Trek 3 in the asteroid belt, only being kicked out in the past couple of 100,000 years. And since non-asteroid belt asteroids don't tend to fare well in independent orbits, researchers predict Itokawa will either break apart or collide with the Earth in the next million years. So, having said, I said million years. This is not tomorrow. This is not next week. This is next century.
I thought you said billion.
No, it said million.
Okay.
Now, the unsettling conclusion is largely based on a previous study that simulated 39 nearly identical orbits for Itokawa. The results indicate that an Earth impact of Itokawa is likely within a million years. Although it sounds ominous, on average, an Itokawa-sized asteroid strikes the Earth in about once every 250,000 years. This is kind of like comparing the odds of getting punched by a particular person to the odds of being punched by any person. So even though the risk of getting hit by any asteroid is higher, Itokawa is definitely going to be watched.
Mm-hmm.
So the other side of the coin is, though, this is giving work to people like Jim Scotty and a good friend of mine, Mr. Rick Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as most people know, Mr. Scotty works for Spacewatch, and he spends a lot of his night up on a mountain when the moon is down, looking for near-Earth objects. He's part of the NEO program at NASA, or even though he works out of the University of Arizona. So there's a lovely little diagram about halfway down the page. It shows the current Itokawa orbit. It shows the main asteroid belt and the asteroid family it comes from. And the interesting thing is this hypothesis of asteroids being a bunch of gravitationally bound rubble is not new. Now, I heard this idea being put out back in 2008, 2009. This was at a BAA Comet and Minor Planet section meeting. We had Dr. Simon Green from the Open University give us a talk about it. Dr. Simon Green is involved with OSIRIS-REx, which is another reason we're going to Bennu. We want to get a better idea of what some of these hunks of rock look like. And of course, I suppose Buzz could get involved in it somehow, because you only got to mention that the moon landings were fakes. Both him and Mike Collins really get upset, and he would punch a flat earther. Yeah, and thanks Black Projects for putting Rick Hill's page up in the chat room. As I say, Space Watch brings us back to Shoemaker Levy 9. We got lucky. We got very lucky, actually, because we got ringside seats to see a comet disintegrate, and then slam in, and then to watch the actual chunks of this comet slam into Jupiter, and we got to see how the damage evolved during the Jovian rotation. And of course, it does kind of nicely answer as to why are some craters in a very nice, neat, perfect alignment, walking across not only certain moons of Jupiter, but there are some craters both here on Earth and on the moon where that has happened. Obviously, the impactor has disintegrated, it has shred, and the actual pieces of material are coming in, and one is coming in after the other, and that's when you see chains of craters formed. So, yes, Evil Spock, danger, Will Robinson. So this is the fun thing about the chat room. We have got a really great conversation going on in here. Glenn is telling us about how Buzz Aldrin punched a flat earther who was bothering him. I personally don't blame Buzz for doing that at all.
I think it was a moon landing denier is what it was.
Well, he doesn't like the flat earthers either. And they are just as rabid about, oh no, it is. The Earth is a disc. Yeah, okay, mate. Let me guess. It's on the back of 4 elephants who are on the back of Atuin, the great turtle, as it flies through space. Yeah, keep taking the Mogadon. Good idea. Now I am showing my age. But seriously, yeah, Shoemaker Levy 9 was the most amazing thing. I remember pulling it in the graphics being sent to me. I was like, wow, I can't believe this is happening in my lifetime. I know that Chris Goh and Anthony Weasley have also had their own impactors on Jupiter. Turtles all the way down. I'm beginning to wondering if the Honasi have this right about turtles. And if you're wondering what I mean, Honasi are the actual Iroquois, the Iroquois 5 Nations, here in the northeast of the United States. And ironically, I live in Mohegan territory, not 5 Nations territory.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, they also had a lunar calendar as well, and they still do use their lunar calendar. So that's interesting. Yeah, I suppose we could dangle a bucket over the edge of a flat Earth and just to see what's down there. Yeah, go watch The Color of Magic. It's Terry Pratchett's brilliant book, and there was a terrific movie adaptation too. So Well, yeah. The thing is, though, they're basing this on how and when the actual dust cloud collapsed and started to form the protoplanets, etc. So they have an idea of how old the sun is, and they can then now work forward into modern times from there. We know what type of star it is. We know we have a very good idea from the emission lines of the sun what type of star it is and what it's doing and how much of its hydrogen it's burnt. So that allows us to get a very good idea of how old the solar system is. Now, one of the things is every now and again we've actually left the stellar nursery a long time ago. The sun's siblings are also dispersed, but they're now trying to do number crunching and simulations to figure out which stars were the siblings of our sun in the stellar nursery.
I think they found about expect about 1,000 stars are kind of traveling with our sun through the galaxy, but I think they've confirmed about a little more than 100 stars that are actually traveling with the sun through the galaxy. Most of them red dwarfs, of course, and pretty close to us.
Yeah, and the occasional brown dwarf too.
That's right. Yep, definitely finding brown dwarfs too. Brown dwarfs, by the way, everybody listening in, are stars that almost ignited their nuclear fires inside them. If they would have been a little bit more massive, a little bit more gravity crushed in, it would have fused hydrogen into helium and started that process. So it would be a rather really dim, small star. But the phase below that is not quite enough gravity and pressure and temperature to cause nuclear fusion. So the material just kind of crushed together and built up a lot of heat and just making it slowly cooling off. So not producing its own heat. The initial heat from gravity crushing everything together still there and slowly cooling off. A brown dwarf, basically. Next step up would be a red planet, really small red planet, red dwarf. A red star. Really small red star that uses its nuclear fuel very slowly. Very economic star, lasts a long time, and they just get bigger and bigger after that.
And of course, the interesting thing is, with brown dwarfs, below them would be the Jupiter class planets.
Yep.
Because Jupiter isn't quite enough gas and gravity to start nuclear fusion, but
need about 10 times the mass.
It needs about 10 times the mass to get itself elevated up into a brown dwarf. That's the only really bad science in 2010 was the fact that they meant that the alien probe managed to start a nuclear fusion in Jupiter's atmosphere.
Hey, it could happen.
Well, we'll see. If they do that, that's going to mess an awful lot of animals and plants up with having another dim sun in the sky.
Opportunity. Might make it, might not.
And of course, you know what that would mean, don't you? If they did manage to ignite Jupiter, you know what we'd now become, don't you? If they do, we become Tatooine.
There you go.
So we've covered most of the science fiction in our references somehow.
There you go. So the Opportunity rover has been quiet because of all the dust storms on Mars. The skies have been too dusty to allow enough sunlight to come through to charge its batteries. And it's been going that way for, several months, actually, with too much dust in the sky. So they're wondering, is there enough battery life in the thing to have it recover once the skies do clear? And if the skies do clear, but all that dust has got to come down out of the sky, so will the solar panels be covered with too much dust to charge them even if the skies are clear? So that's where they're at right now. So they're kind of coming down to some deadlines. They're saying, okay, we're going to put a deadline on this thing. if the skies are going to clear within so many days, we're going to give it that deadline. Okay, so maybe it'll clear, maybe not. And then after it clears, they might give it another deadline saying, well, okay, the skies are clear, but are we going to be able to charge this thing? And we're going to just make it a deadline. And after too much time passes by, they're just going to call it and say, nope, it looks like this rover is not going to recover. They've already cut down some of their mission control people, because why staff a whole mission when it's basically in hibernation? So, and it might not come back. So that's kind of where they're at with the Opportunity rover right now.
You know what we need to do, don't you, Marty?
We need a big feather duster on Mars.
Oh, we need to borrow a Eagle from Moonbase Alpha and flit over there and give the panels a quick wipe down.
Yeah,
put on a Roswell Grey mask and strut in front of the cameras just to wind everybody up.
There you go.
Now, Red Shirts 3 is saying in the chat room, because we're discussing how do they actually figure out how do they determine the age. It could be isotopic ratios used for dating. So they're using isotopic elements in the material of the old solar nebula, which created the solar system, and they're looking at it and looking at half-lives and of radiation.
Same thing with the Earth too.
Yeah.
Get an idea how old the Earth is, and obviously that's basically how old the solar system is.
Well, yeah, because you can look at the radioactive elements on the Earth, and we know how long certain elements take to decay to lead.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at the amount of lead gives you an idea of just how much of the original isotope there was. And because of all the experiments we've done with nuclear reactors and everything else, we know what the half-life of a lot of the elements are. So it allows us to work out the age of the solar system. I did see him pop into chat recently.
We also know how long it takes for carbon to degrade.
Exactly. Anyway, yes, I believe he survived the Great Fire. I just haven't seen him come into the chat room for a while, but he has been in and out. I occasionally do pop in, even just to see what's going on, and he's left messages in there, so I think he's okay. I don't believe he's actually in a fire area, but apparently he was in York Monday, according to Glenn.
Okay.
Okay.
I got about 6 more minutes left in our show.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm getting conflicting reports for next Monday. One of them said the moon's going to occult Aldebaran, and one of them doesn't say that. So the moon might occult Aldebaran. Let's leave it that next Monday, when there's also a last quarter moon too. Mercury's been kind of already had its greatest eastern elongation in the morning. That's heading back towards the sun, so Mercury's going to disappear. But we got a sky full of planets now. It's kind of nice. Everything from Venus to Jupiter, Saturn, Vesta's in there, Mars, Neptune, and then Uranus going across our sky from the early part of the evening till a little bit later. So lots of planet viewing to do.
Okay, so I went on to the lunaroccultations.com website. I'll put this into chat. Okay.
Yeah, I've got one listed as Delta 1 Taurus. I think that's supposed to be Alpha Taurus, but I don't know. Maybe.
So,
I didn't have time to confirm it.
Right, we are actually, I'm scrolling down. There's one for, okay. What we got here? Okay, translate this page, it's in English. You fool. You fool, Google, it's in English.
Translate from American to English. Which I have to do all the time.
There is one I did find, this solar predictions of an occultation. It's mostly you're gonna be in Singapore, Australia.
Yep, Indonesia. That's what I've been getting to. Yep.
Yeah, so I'll put the link into chat.
Okay. Jacobity's Inner coming up few more days, it's going to be passing just a little bit south, not very much, like a degree or less, of the bright star Capella in the constellation Auriga. So that'll make it pretty easy to spot in our northern sky. So if you want to find that comet, wait a few more days and say look at Capella, and it should be flying right by there. So.
Now, I did actually manage to get an image recently.
Okay.
Okay, just 1 second. I'm just diving into my Flickr. So what I do these days is I actually upload all my pictures to Flickr.
Mm-hmm.
And where are we? I've got to. Where is my Jacobin? There we go. There it be. Okay, and I'll stick this into chat.
All right. People somewhere around the Atlantic, the islands off the coast of Africa and stuff like that, are going to have a really nice Jupiter event. It's going to be three things happening almost at the same time. Io is going to transit Jupiter. Europa is going to occult Jupiter, and Ganymede is also going to occult Jupiter, all within about a half hour's time, about an hour's worth of time. That's tomorrow night, 22 hours universal time. So if you're around the west coast of Africa or off in the islands, Azores and stuff like that, you'll have a really nice triple event of Jupiter's moons going in front of and behind it, almost nearly at the same time.
Yeah, I put my picture of 21p in the chat room.
Okay.
I had some fun getting that one because I literally had to say it's too early in the morning for me. I had to go to bed. I had work, but I was really impressed. I got quite a nice little picture there.
Nice.
So yeah, I was quite happy with that.
Mm-hmm. And tonight we've got, no, it was actually last night, Uranus near the moon. All right, everybody, time for us to think about heading out of here. So let's see. Let's check the exact time. If it's time to call up, not give it a couple more seconds before we do the actual call up here, Nick. So I want to thank everybody that's been in our chat room tonight. Really appreciate it. Don't forget, coming up, we've got First Light, and we repeat these programs every 4 hours for the next 24 hours. So keep tuned in and keep listening in, and really appreciate everybody that's been in chat room tonight. All right, Nick.
This is the away team to Captain Savick. 3 to beam up, and it's time for us to come home.
It is. All right, we're going to drop the crew off back on the Earth and head back out into space till another week, next Friday night. So appreciate everybody listening in. Keep those cards and letters and donations coming in. And time for us to get out. Good night, everybody.
Energize.
We hope that you've enjoyed this program from AFM Radio, the broadcast service of Astronomy.fm. This program has been released under Creative Commons license. Please contact us for details. You may find more of our AFM original programs on our website. It's really easy to find us. We are Astronomy.fm. You may also find us in the iTunes radio listings near the top of the News Talk section, and also as an iTunes podcast selection. We'd love to hear your comments. Please email us at radio@astronomy.fm. Thanks so much for being part of the voice of astronomy around the world and across the known universe. This is Astronomy.fm Radio.
Hi, this is Tavi Greiner, Astronomy.fm's Vice President of Communications. If you enjoy our programming, please let us know with a donation to astronomy.fm/donate. We really do rely on your support, and it's true, every little bit counts.
AFM. There I was, doing my thing. And all of a sudden, wham! Astronomy right between the eyes.